And our fourth school is Irvington High School, which is located in Fremont. And so a brief introduction of Irvington, one key characteristic that separates them from the rest is that they have the highest UC Berkeley admission rate among the 5 schools, and it is actually the only one that actually went up by a decent amount. When you see down here at the bottom for the 2019 UC Berkeley admission rate, it was 22.94%, which is already pretty good, but then it jumped up to 25.4% in 2020. So it is definitely impressive, as it is a commonality for schools to have it decrease due to COVID-19. Irvington actually saw their rates increase, and we'll get more into that in a couple minutes. But rounding out their brief information, their teacher to student ratio is 1 to 22. And then they had 73% of their teachers have 3 or more years of teaching experience. And then for extracurriculars, they have 43 clubs and 21 sports. And then for their UCLA admission rate, it went down by about 1% from 10.83% to 7.78 in 2020. Now for Irvington High School's university numbers, as for their 2020 UC enrollment, as you can see, a lot of interest in UC Berkeley. When you look at the slide before, they had 63 students who were admitted to UC Berkeley, and then in the end, 47 of those students decided to enroll in UC Berkeley. So a lot of students going to that school, and there was definitely a lot of interest in UC San Diego, as well as 29 students were enrolled there in 2020. And then rounding out the other schools, 8 went to Los Angeles, 15 went to Santa Barbara, 20 went to Irvine, 17 went to Davis, 13 went to Riverside, and there was actually some data on Merced. We had 3. And then for other notable universities, for students for the class of 2020 and 2021, they had students going to Yale, Stanford, New York University or NYU, Cornell, and USC or University of Southern California. Now to talk more about Irvington's UCB numbers, because we did want to talk about this for a couple more minutes because it is definitely a key point. Since 2020, Irvington has risen to be one of the top Bay Area high schools in this category. When you compare Irvington's UC Berkeley numbers to other top Bay Area schools, none of these schools we're talking about in depth today, because we'll compare Irvington's to those other 4 schools in the statistical comparison slide. But we have 5 other schools here, 3 public high schools that were one of the top public high schools in the Bay Area. You had Saratoga High, which was rated 3rd by Niche, 20 by US News, Gunn High, which was rated 2nd by Niche, and 21 by US News, and then Lynbrook, which was rated 12 and 14 respectively. So very good high schools in the Bay Area. When you look at their UC Berkeley admission rates, they don't compare necessarily to Irvington's, as Irvington is up there at 25.4%. Saratoga's is 14.35. Gunn is 12.66, and then Lynbrook's is 8.84. Lynbrook was the highest and one of the highest in 2019 at almost 30%, but it did drop in 2020 down to 8%, and now Irvington has one of those top spots at 25% as their rates kept going up from 2019 to 2020. And then we actually threw in 2 of the top private schools in the Bay Area, because it is worth noting in 2020, 15.4% of Harker students went and got admitted to UC Berkeley, and then 25% of basis independent in Silicon Valley students were admitted to UC Berkeley. So as you can see, if you do have a student who is wanting to go to UC Berkeley, Irvington High School has definitely shown over the last couple of years that they have a high percentage of students who attend that school. Now for Irvington's academics, one key point is that there was a noticeable increase in their ACT scores from 2019 to 2020, went up by 2 points from 30 to 32. And there was a noticeable decrease in their national merit semifinalists from 2020 to 2021. It went down from 46 to 33. But rounding out their other academics, their SAT score was 1390 in 2020. And then for their AP tests, 92% scored a 3 or higher, and 47% scored a 5. And then for their CAASP, about the same, 75% were college ready in English and 73% were college ready in math. And now lastly, for their number of AP classes offered, it is 21. So that concludes Irvington High School. So now let's move into our last and final school.